All of this was mere prelude to the greatest of revolutionary cosplayers. So fresh, so unbelievably the face of freshness and the fresh of faceness. AOC showed up to the Met Gala. Now, nothing says woman of the people like showing up to a gala where the average ticket costs $30,000. Now, I assume she didn't pay for that. I assume that she was gifted the ticket by somebody in the management at the Met Gala. She wore a white dress from I actually was wondering who the maker of the dress was. Apparently, the maker of the dress is some famous shoe designer. I guess they don't even sell dresses normally. So they made it special for her. And she was wearing a special white dress with a slogan on the back of it reading, "Tax the rich." Tax the rich. At the Met Gala, surrounded by all of the rich people, including AOC, who makes $174,000 a year, not being a barmaid, but being a person who is in Congress mouthing off on Instagram. She is not a member of the lower classes in the United States, gang. Neither is Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is a millionaire who owns 3 homes. AOC is not a member of the blue-collar working class any longer. Okay, so AOC shows up to the Met Gala to hobnob with the rich and famous. Now notice, again, this is cosplaying the revolution. She isn't outside yelling at the people going into the Met Gala that they need to be taxed more. She's not outside telling them that they should be giving all of the money not to the Metropolitan Museum of Fashion, but to actual poor people. Because let me tell you something, if you donate to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, that money ain't going to the poor. Okay? Instead, the idea here is that she's a heroine. It's iconic, according to reporters for Rolling Stone. Iconic. Oh, incredible. She is, here she is wearing this dress that says tax the rich. And we're all supposed to swoon because, again, she's not actually doing anything revolutionary. She's going to a bunch of people who agree with her about taxing the rich, at least when they're at events like this. And then they go home and they say to their accountant, so where do I stash my cash so I don't get taxed? That's how it actually works in Hollywood. You have a bunch of Hollywood higher-ups. I'm happy to pay the highest taxes in all the land. And then they call up Berman the accountant. They're like, okay, figure out where to stash. Cayman Islands, would that work for you? How do I avoid paying? What's the minimum I can pay? I noticed a lot of these people are not big on actually the giving of the charity or the signing of a larger checks to the federal government, I've noticed. But AOC decides to show up and she's going to shame them. And they all look deeply ashamed, right? They all look as though they have been just slapped in the face with a wet fish. Or alternatively, they know that she's just part of the game. Because again, Robespierre didn't show up at Versailles wearing culottes that said, kill the monarchs. He just killed the monarchs. If you're going to be a revolutionary, you got to be a revolutionary. You don't get to hobnob with the let them eat cake crowd, which is what she is doing. And there's still a lot of people in this country who are suffering, who can't go back to work. In New York City, you can't go back to work in a lot of places because of all the vaccine requirements. AOC's district is one of the less wealthy districts in New York. And here she is taking that, Joe Manchin, who's really bad. Joe Manchin, the plutocrat, Joe Manchin. I didn't see him at the Met Gala. I didn't see this piece of work at the Met Gala. There she was, the Met Gala, hobnobbing with all of her fashionable friends, standing up to the patriarchy, standing up to capitalism with all of these beneficiaries of capitalism who are dancing with the mask of the Red Death at the ball that protects them from being part of the rest of the pandemic. It is galling to say the least, for sure. Now, I guess the dress's designer was Aurora James, and she went with her dress designer. And she discussed what it means to be working class women of color at the Met. Yes, wow, it's like Cinderella going to the ball. Yeah, wow. There was AOC. She was sitting in her kitchen doing an Instagram post about how to make a smoothie. And she looked over into the fire and she just began sifting through the ashes for a potato, a crumb to eat. And that's when they began calling her AO Cinderella. And AO Cinderella then had Billy Porter arrive as the fairy godmother and grant her wish, which was to go to the ball with all of the special people wearing a dress that said on the back, tax the rich. Wow. And then she turned back into a pumpkin. She had to go back to Washington, D.C. and hang out with all the other pumpkins. So here she was, blue-collar AOC, explaining her own heroism. Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear $2,000 dresses designed by Aurora James Here she is.
When Aurora and I were first kind of partnered, we really started having a conversation about what it means to be working class women of color at the Met. And
oh my God.
Said, we can't just play along, but we need to break the fourth wall and challenge some of the institutions. And while the Met is known for its spectacle, we should have a conversation about it.
Well, they're known about the spectacle. We should have a conversation about it. You know what the conversation is? That you're a hypocrite. That's the conversation. You weren't standing outside with a sign saying, give all the money to the poor. You were inside after having been given a seat by the Met and partnered with Aurora James, who apparently is the creative director and founder of a luxury accessories brand called Brother Vellies, which, by the way, I should know. Brother Vellies, I'm just going to read you some of the prices from their website. Okay, the Brother Vellies products, I'm going to just look at their shoes right now. Okay, they have a Trist sandal for $285. They have socks for $35 a pair, which seems kind of expensive for socks, I will note. She has shoes called the Beirut Slide for $615. But Aurora, these are working class women of color fighting back against capitalism and the patriarchy. Why does any of this matter? Why does the Met Gala matter? Why does AOC and all this? Why is this important? The reason it's important is because the same people who call for tearing down the systems are the beneficiaries of the system. If you're going to do something like the Met Gala, it should be a celebration of capitalism, because frankly, that's what makes all of this possible. It should be a celebration of free markets and competition and creativity and entrepreneurship, which is really what is happening at the Met Gala. Instead, it's a bunch of masturbatory idiots talking about how terrible are the systems under which we live, while simultaneously living the highest on the hog it is possible to live and making mockeries of themselves in the process. And you know what? Good. Because it shows what idiots they are. It shows that for them, the political stance, it's like a purse. It's just an accessory. That's all. Okay, the political stance is not some sort of deeply rooted belief system. For a lot of these folks, it is not about what they believe in their heart of hearts, because they are willing to shed that in order to go to a cocktail party with all the famous folks. What it is really about more than anything, all of the radical left's most ardent proposals are AOC's dress. They are all expensive dresses built on the back of an incredibly prosperous system saying tax the rich. It's all signaling. All it is I'm a good person because AOC would be a bad person if she'd just gone to the Met Gala and didn't say tax the rich on the back, but it did say tax the rich on the back. So now she's a good person. Now she's virtuous. Cara Delevingne wearing a stupid bib that probably cost a couple $1,000s, if it hadn't said anything, we would just think, look at these decadent idiot celebrities. But she had embroidered on it, peg the patriarchy. And that means that she is a morally praiseworthy person. Megan Rapinoe would just be a whiny soccer player playing a sport that very few people watch except once every 4 years when the media decide it's important. And then whining about a salary contract that she herself signed. That's all she would be, except for the fact that she walks around talking about how victimized she is in American society and how the institutions are bad. The greatest grift in America is living on the back of the greatest system ever put to paper, and then talking about what a victim you are while living high on that system. It is the most amazing grift I've ever seen, and so many of our politicians do it. And this is Joe Biden, who has never taken a private sector paycheck. Okay, Joe Biden has never run a business. Joe Biden has never done anything worthwhile. The man was elected to the Senate of the United States when he was 29 years old. He is a congressional welfare case. And here he is talking about the evils of the system that have made him worth millions and millions of dollars. Hey, and by the way, that system, the political patronage system that made him millions and millions of dollars, because that's why he's rich. See, there's a difference between politicians who are rich before and then go into politics, and people who are not rich and then became rich because they were politicians, like Joe Biden, which is kind of despicable. The amazing spectacle in the United States of people who benefit from the system, ripping the system for pay and fun, is just, it's an amazing, amazing thing to watch. And you should always keep that in mind, because that's what they're doing. Because what does that really amount to? In the end, what it amounts to is they are better than you. They are more morally praiseworthy than you. You see, AOC is more morally praiseworthy than you. You are just a restaurateur. You're just somebody who owns a small restaurant in rural Indiana. And, you don't think the institutions should be torn down. You don't have the vision. You're not like Ibram X. Kendi. You don't see the deep roots of evil in the system. Well, getting $10 million checks from Jack Dorsey over at Twitter and running a Center for Anti-Racism Research that to date has produced zero research at Boston University. Right? You're just a person who runs a business and tries to make sure that your employees have money to take home, and you try to put food on the table for your kids, and maybe you try to service your customers. But you don't stand up against the institutions, which means that you're bad and you're stupid. These people, they're special. They're elite. They are better than you because they have not only succeeded in the system, they recognize the evils of the system. And this makes them superior to you. And what does that mean? What that really means is that we are just supposed to ignore everything they actually do on the ground in favor of the proposition that you are bad and you are morally blameworthy. Your life does not matter. Your prospects do not matter. Your hopes and your dreams do not matter because you are not part of the cosplaying revolutionary brigade. Because these folks are like a dog. If they actually caught the car, they wouldn't know what to do with it. Okay, really, if Tom Ford and Timothy Chalamet and AOC, if they ever caught the car and they instituted the socialist revolution that they apparently so ardently seek, they might be quite unhappy with the results. The most ardent communists in the United States have never lived under communism, and the most ardent capitalists in the United States have. There is a reason for that. There's a reason that Cuban expatriates come to the United States and they understand the evils of communism, while all the communists in the United States were born in the United States and went to our top universities. And again, it comes down to the way that they are going to reinstill, reinforce their own sense of moral superiority is to crap on you. Right? And it comes out in everything they do. It really does. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.